Hello, welcome to another segment of Points of Interest. I'm your host, Demetrius Minor.
And I'm your co-host, Joey Traina. And we're glad you could join us today for our show. The first half of our show, we're going to talk a little bit about national news, and the last half, or the last 15, we're going to talk about local news. So please stick around because the local news, obviously, is
Right.
it's right around.
We're going to
us.
hit up on some good topics today, so hopefully you'll be interested. What we're going to start off with today, Joey?
Well, actually, the first thing we want to do is acknowledge the family of Officer James D. Paul,
Exactly.
who was murdered at the age of 44 in just a terrible,
Great guy.
terrible series of events.
Right. He's a great guy, just doing his job and trying to protect the citizens in
Right.
the surrounding areas. And like you said, Joey, it's a very unfortunate chain of events that occurred there.
Hopefully, you've been following. It's been in the local news. I saw the very first statement made out from the sheriff's department, and subsequently there have been articles and things in the news. There's going to be the viewing.
The viewing's going to be tonight, I believe. It's from 6 to 9 p.m.
Okay.
I believe that time is accurate. And I believe the viewing going to be at the same place as the funeral?
You know, that's a good question. That's a good question. We should. It's gonna be either before this show airs, and if you want more information, please find us on Facebook. We'll have more detailed information about
But
that.
the funeral will be Thursday morning at 11 o'clock at First Baptist Church located on Walton Way. Once again, Thursday morning at 11 o'clock at First Baptist Church, and I believe it is open to the public.
Really want to come out and show support for our local law enforcement, public safety, especially one who's taken from us in the line of duty.
And you can already tell that there's been some unity in the city. Austin Rhodes and Tony Powers, two rival talk show hosts, have come together to show support for the community, for the family, telling their listening audience to say, hey, we need to do whatever we can to support the sheriff's office and support the family of the officer. And that's really good for the community to come together.
Sure.
In such manner.
It's a shame it takes events as these to do that, but of course, no one would be in the right mind to not to
Right.
come to the support of the family.
Exactly.
But and actually the fellow who took the officer's life and then subsequently took his own life, it's hard to hear, but this guy was within years of our age. He was
That's right.
just a 20-something, and
that's when it really hits home,
I mean,
that's when you really look back and say, my goodness, that's such
what's going on there?
Yeah, right.
But in any case, definitely wanted to send those well wishes out and thoughts and prayers, and because it really has impacted the city.
Absolutely.
It's something nobody likes to hear.
Right.
But we're gonna push forward into national news now. See if we can cover some things that have been going on. Finally, no GOP debate to discuss. It seems like every show we do, we got to start out talking about some GOP debate, something they were talking about.
Right.
Actually, more this week, everybody had plenty of time on like the Sunday news talk shows and talking about a range of issues from Libya and
With the fall of Gaddafi.
the fall of Gaddafi.
But now it appears that the Libyan government is embracing the radical sect of that country. So it's going to be interesting to see how that country transfers from the power of Gaddafi. I do believe that Gaddafi's death is a good thing for Libya, but time will only tell how things resonate.
Well, this the movement to oust him was not initiated by the more radical sect. It was initiated by those who were tech savvy and wanted to
The Libyan rebels.
The Libyan rebels who wanted to push things into a more democratic way of doing things. So it's not easy. Obviously, we can tell from American history that a new country, a new democracy is not easy to start here. But at least those conversations are happening, and from our standpoint, I guess the Americans are the government, what have you, NATO forces are looking to be help to coordinate, but not be hands-on.
Exactly.
Just kind of be ready in the wings for anything.
And speaking of international relations, President Obama has decided to withdraw U.S. troops from Iraq
Well,
by the holidays.
I don't know if he decided to. It was kind of the decision was made for him, wasn't it? With,
No, well,
Bush and
yes, that decision was actually made by the Bush administration, but it was a campaign pledge by Barack Obama to have them home before 2012, and it appears that they will be home.
so Bush
before
actually
the
helped
holidays.
him with his campaign promises then. Pretty interesting.
Well, Bush already had laid the groundwork
Right.
before Obama was president.
Right.
So now, you know, I guess the question is this a political gesture? How would this really help? There seems to be some support for that. Obviously, there's some oppositions.
Well, Michelle Bachmann said we got kicked out of Iraq, which is pretty disingenuous when you consider the the information we just shared of how this had been in the works for a while, and Obama made it public, and but it's interesting. The sort of the arguments that are being posted here are whether we should leave.
Well, some of the arguments is
whether
did we
now-
leave? Should we still leave too soon? I guess there was some initial reports believing that there were some generals or some military advisors who was cautious against us leaving Iraq.
Right.
However, the president decided to do it anyway.
Well, the generals, they have a job to do. They have their missions, their
Right.
initiatives, their goals to fulfill. But ultimately, it's and actually the Iraqis aren't making it easy for us anyway. Because if we were to stay beyond that time, they're saying that they would either incapacitate or incarcerate any remaining.
But the biggest concerns,
soldiers on the ground.
The biggest concerns and the worries now in that Middle East structure is now Iran. Will they try to occupy Iraq, or what would happen to Iraq, or what was going to happen to Afghanistan? How will, the Taliban or any other terrorist network, where they try to set up
Pakistan.
operation,
Okay.
Pakistan
Sure.
in Iraq? That
Right.
remains to be seen.
So I guess the region now. So we went into Iraq, we went into Afghanistan. We're coming out of Iraq. Libya's got its own issues now, and there's an Arab Spring in the air. Still, so many months later. We were there for 10 years, and it's interesting. Now we're leaving, and we kind of still have the same issues. It was a volatile region when we went in.
Right.
It remains a volatile region, and possibly even worse. But or people can speculate on that. But also, I'd have to say that the Iranian people are their median age is more like us. So as soon as people our age in that country who are
That
maybe
country
more
is mostly
secular,
occupied by a younger generation.
Right.
You're right there. You're right about that.
There's, I don't know if you've heard about the Green Revolution in Iran.
I have heard about that. Right.
Same sort of idea where people are speaking out against regimes and want change, what have you. So it's interesting for us to stay involved and keep an outlook for. But I think what's on our end, what's changed is now we're deciding 10 years after going into these expeditions that these changes will probably have to happen without us. So that's to be debated, because obviously people like Michelle Bachmann and John McCain and I believe Aaron Cantor also were making statements about how they weren't making positive statements in reference to us leaving. It was almost as if we needed to stay longer or prolong this or a lot of them are painting the picture that Obama failed, that this was Obama's failed policies. How do you
I do think
how do you
it
help
was
them out with that argument?
I do think it was a political gesture. Listen, if this was the year 2004, then the withdrawal of troops from Iraq will be a major boost in a campaign. However, in the 2012 election, I really don't think it's going to be a pressing issue.
Okay. You're thinking forward as though this is this. Okay, so you're really sticking to this was purely a political gesture and in hopes that Obama will use this for his campaign.
I don't know if he will use it in his campaign. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. It was a previous campaign pledge.
Right.
So,
it's purely political to fulfill your campaign pledges.
Well, this is what he's going to do. Probably, he'll go back and say, well, I kept my promises. We did this, we did that.
And that's a horrible thing to do.
But it's not going to be a major deciding factor because the economy will still be the biggest issue of next year.
Well, and I wouldn't say that this necessarily needs to be something that is the forefront of his campaign. I wouldn't say anybody would say that.
I credit him with being involved or having an initiative to go after Gaddafi and to go after Osama bin Laden. Those are great initiatives, and those are great tasks that were completed.
But you wouldn't want to see those in the campaign either, really.
Regardless if he infiltrates that into the campaign or not, it's not going to be a major issue.
Right.
He's more than welcome to credit that as an achievement, if you wish. But I'm just saying, overall, it's not going to be make voters vote one way or the other.
I think it'll bolster the confidence of people who want to vote for him, and it'll probably just be dismissed by people who don't want to vote for him anyway. But I think your comments now just kind of speak to the spirit that has been around now.
When you say bolster the comments, I'm under the impression that this is not a foreign policy election. This is economic. So if there's a family that's struggling economically, I don't think that what we have done as far as the capture of Gaddafi, the capture of Osama bin Laden, I don't think that's really going to sway their opinion. I think they're going to vote more on their financial status.
All I'm saying is that if you're already an Obama supporter,
you'll
have this sort of
the base
little feather in your cap. That's what I'm saying. And for those who aren't going to vote for Obama already, who decided, then it doesn't matter anyway.
Change anything.
Exactly. So okay. Well, and actually, we were talking about jobs. We've had to, as far as getting anything passed recently, had to try to put in bits and pieces of the American Jobs Act that was presented by Obama, now in pieces, and it looks like at least we're getting a few in, and we'll see how that.
From what I know, there was two increments that was proposed by the House GOP, the House Republicans, that I believe that the White House have got on board with. So we'll just have to see.
But isn't that sort of political gesturing? You talk about political gesturing. I mean, if they're aspects of the Jobs Act that was presented by Obama, and now we have to wait for the GOP House to get it in there, it's a matter of who can stick their name on it, I guess, and who's going to get the credit, or what have you.
Well, I mean,
it's the same.
That's politics in general.
Okay.
You're going to have the back and forth combat, the back and forth battle between the party in power and the minority.
Okay. So when the president does something, it's a political gesture, but when the GOP does it, it's just politics.
No. I'm not saying that. Both of them have political gestures.
Okay.
But from my perspective, what I have seen from this president has been more political. I believe he's more of a political president instead of a president who really wants to govern and do what's best.
I would say that sounds pretty vague. I mean, if you're a politician, anything you do is going to be political. You can either be a pragmatist, or you can be a moderate, or you can be a hardliner. I mean, there's different ways to be political.
Well, you're right, but then sometimes you even disregard the political will of your own party. For example,
as Obama has definitely done, because there's a lot of Democrats not happy with it.
I'm going to use the surge that Bush implemented in Iraq, which was not popular with Republicans at all. They were growing weary. They finally got on board, but he went against the wills of his own party. But Barack Obama.
I don't recall that at all.
Barack Obama is an ideologue.
Really?
Yes, he's an ideologue.
Okay.
And he's going to stick to that ideologue, which is why he's doing.
And what is his ideologue? I mean, you're going to have to hone in on something.
He wants to appeal to the far left.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Oh, yes.
No, it's foreign policy. The extension of some Bush policies definitely do not speak to that sentiment of appealing to the far right. I think the right media, the right wing media would like to portray him as trying to appeal to the far left. But I can say from reading various and listening to various commentators that this guy is not appealing to the far left. But it does help right wing media to say that he is. So.
Well, it's not just right-wing media. I mean, there's just a lot of people.
Of course it does. If you're right-wing media and you have your bases all right-wing and you don't want them to like
it's not
Obama,
just a right-wing thing.
Obviously tell him he's a socialist and all that.
But even Democrats are upset with him. Many Democrats.
Yeah, but not because he's far right. I'm sorry, not because he's far left.
They don't even want to be associated with him.
Who? Democrats?
Tim Kaine, the former DNC chair, would not even be with Obama, appear with Obama, because Obama is hurting the party.
Okay, but that's not because he's far left. It's because he's riding the middle, and people that are party hardliners aren't happy with that.
No, it's just he's far left. He's an ideologue, and he's not changing from being an ideologue.
I'm just gonna say it's gonna have to be your opinion on that.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree.
That's what it is.
We'll be right back after this.